Welcome to another Founder Wisdom podcast. We have Vikas Sunkad with us today. He's the founder at SunJosho Ventures Private Limited. He's a seasoned business leader with 25 years of executive level credentials, a people leader. It's all about P&L ownership and turnaround in Bangalore, India, and Oaxaca, Mexico. This podcast is brought to you by podpair.com. If you want to start a podcast, generate leads, investors, authority, and neurons in your brain, you can go to podpair.com. We help you start a podcast funnel so that you can get richer and smarter as a result. So podpair.com. Vikas, welcome to the podcast. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Hey Charles, thanks a lot for having me on your podcast. And hello everyone who are all listening to us from different parts of the world. It's 10 in the evening for me in India. So good evening to people on this side of the world. And depending on your day parts, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. So hope all of you are doing well. So as Charles said, my name is Vikas Sunkad, and I live here in Bangalore, in India. Primarily more than 28 years of experience in the industry. Of late, I've started my own ventures called as SunJosho Ventures about a year or so back, primarily intended to help startups, in their venture acceleration. India is seeing a lot of startups, and at the same time, we know some of the problems that they are facing, especially on the product market fit and execution scale up. So my whole intention is to work with early stage founders and help them navigate some of these choppy waters. Prior to that, I've basically been into the startup ecosystem for 4 years. So I moved from a corporate job into a startup kind of a situation in 2021 after COVID. It was a company called as 10 Club, which is more like a brand roll up play wherein we used to acquire Amazon labels and kind of acquire them and grow them. So that's what I did for about a couple of years in 10 Club. I was the chief operating officer there. But prior to that, I have a whole lot of experience on the consumer brand side. Worked with two large companies. Started off my career way back in '97 with a food major here in India called as Britannia Industries. Worked a lot on the supply chain side to begin with. More on supply chain modeling, optimization, linear programming stuff. Moved into an operating role. Also helped set the back end with the whole ERP implementation. It was a digital backbone kind of laid for Britannia, and then I helped establish central planning for them. After which, from 2003 to 2021, I was with Coca-Cola for almost 18 odd years. Worked in different roles. Started off in supply chain and then moved on to field sales roles. Did variety of different roles. Moved into strategy and innovation also. And in my last role, I was the vice president for the largest region, managing the P&L for one of the largest regions for Coke in India. So that's been my journey, Charles.
Right. And why leave corporates? And do you think that your corporate experience can be valuable to startups?
Oh, great question. I think corporate experience depends on how you take it, because corporates also go through phases of scale up, and sometimes there are challenges even on the corporate side in terms of speed to market and those kind of things. But one clear distinction that I can draw between working in large companies versus working in startups is the resource constraints, because typically in large organizations you have plenty of resources available at your disposal, versus when you are working in startups, you are always crunched on resource front. Even if you have raised funding through VCs and all, you're always trying to be much more careful, much more cautious. Even if you make mistakes, they can't be like very big mistakes. You can make smaller ones, learn quickly and adapt. So I think that is a big distinction between working in a startup and working in a corporate. But yeah, some of the lessons that you learn, in corporates can be very handy and valuable even in startups, because if you understand the basic principles of what makes a business run, that can actually help a lot in startups. Secondly, if you are able to have that steady head on your shoulders when you are working in a startup where there is a lot of hustle going on, that can also be a lot of benefit, or it can add a lot of value to the team, because everybody is trying to just execute. And sometimes when you have that ability to take a pause and think whether we are doing things right or wrong, whether we are in the right lane or we need to change directions, those things can be very handy, and can really help set the narrative, strategic narrative in startups.
And what did you learn in your 16 years at Coca-Cola, and why did you decided to leave and not continue in that path?
Well, I think a great experience there in the Coke system, one of the most, I would say, dynamic systems in the world. It's a very unique model of business wherein there is a company, then there are bottlers, and the whole thing makes a system, and the whole what do I say, role sort is very beautifully distributed between the company and bottlers. My big learning in Coke, it's basically, I would not say just one, but there are two or three I can call out. The first thing I think is the unwavering commitment to quality. I think that really stands out, in my experience, because it's been a brand which has been there for more than what, 130, 40 years now. And the focus and the consistent belief on getting it right on the quality front, regardless of which part of the world you are in, is absolutely great. And that commitment to quality, whether you are in a large organization or in a small organization, those learnings can be great. So that is my first big takeaway. The second thing I would say is a deep understanding of a consumer, right? So I think it's a consumer brand company, so I think they have been able to understand the consumer mindset and continuously invest and understand behind that. So I think that is something which stands out, because that's also, in a startup context, makes a lot of sense, because we see that many startups are struggling, to scale up because of product market fit related issues, which means that they really are not able to understand the consumer aspect of the business really well. What is their customer or consumer, what segment they should target, what is the right price point, what kind of needs we are trying to serve for the customers. I think that piece Coke understands very beautifully. And the third aspect about my big learning from Coke is the ability to execute. I think they take a lot of pride, in terms of ability to execute at scale. So I think that those are some great learnings I have. Yeah, the reason why I moved out, I worked almost for 17 and a half years in the Coke system, and from 2003 to 2021. And I also realized that the world outside is changing a lot, right? And I somewhere had this a feeling inside me that, hey, I need to probably look out and see what's happening. I've been in the system for quite a long time. I've done a lot of different roles. So around 2019 or so, I decided to invest in myself, and I undertook a long-term general management program with MIT Sloan, because I wanted to really get a outside in perspective, right? And MIT Sloan is known for their emphasis on innovation and entrepreneurship. So that really, opened up my minds, and it really helped me look at the world from a new perspective. Just, being an insider in such a large company for too long, to now, willing to learn and step out of my comfort zone and do something new. I think that confidence I got from the general management program that I did with MIT Sloan. And when the right opportunity came in, I decided to make a shift into the startup ecosystem in India in 2021 after COVID.
And who are you targeting precisely? Who are your clients, and what are your packages? What do you do for them? For what price?
So my clients are basically, early stage startups, and my core focus is around, in domains like consumer tech or agri tech or e-commerce kind of businesses, D2C, or even retail, house of brands, businesses with a strong operating core around supply chain, or businesses which are trying to create platform services where you require to manage two sides of platforms. That's where my expertise really comes in handy. All the last so many years of experience that I've had comes in extremely handy. My packages, I don't go with a very standard approach, because what I look at is every startup is very unique, and the challenges and opportunities that they have is very different. So what we do is we go through a process of discovery, whereby there is some engagement that happens between me and the startups, and we kind of are able to understand and appreciate what we bring to the table, each of us, and whether there is some kind of a complementarity in terms of what I bring and what they are really looking for. And when there is a marriage between the two, then there is some kind of a price discovery that happens. Typically, I tend to take some kind of an equity in these startups, because startups are typically having some kind of a cash flow constraint. So I don't want to burden them with a lot of billing upfront. So I would rather unlock the value and then be part of that success, rather than taking my pound of flesh upfront. That's how it works.
Right. And how do you get these startups to learn more about you? I see LinkedIn content, you invest in ads, you do outreach. How do you get these clients?
Yeah, there is. I am. Yeah, networking is very important, and it also takes time for trust building. So, being part of variety of different events is one. So, I'm part of the Thai group, the Indus Entrepreneurs, which is a platform which kind of brings all the entrepreneurs together. So, I'm part of that group, and then there are some other industry bodies, in the place where I live. There are another one called as Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and they have a lot of focus groups around startups. So I'm pretty active there. Apart from that, I also work very closely with few incubators. There are a lot of incubators in India who have got government grants and stuff like that, and I basically am partnering a lot with them, because they have that ability to provide grants to the startups by virtue of the fact that they are associated with some government schemes. So I work closely with some of these incubators, and that gives me access to pool of startups. I'm also very active on LinkedIn, though I don't do LinkedIn advertising as much. I've done it in bits and pieces, but I've not got that kind of great results. So I believe a lot in organic content and creating some kind of an organic reach through LinkedIn. And I also conduct some kind of workshops for startups where they can come and participate in some engaging what do I say activities, and I try to give them some thoughts around product market fit and these kind of things where they are having a lot of problems. This helps in building some kind of a credibility, in terms of what I really bring to the table.
How's it different to build a startup in India vs in the US?
I think both ecosystems are very active. In that sense, there is a lot of activity happening around the startup space. The Indian ecosystem is gradually coming up, I would say. I think the access to angel funding in the US is much higher compared to India. So when you have an idea, I think the availability of angel rounds in the US is, I think, much better. The angel ecosystem is much better developed. The people with high net worth have that risk appetite, and they understand what investing in startups is and how it can play out. Right, in India, that ecosystem is slowly coming up, because not every startup can get access to institutional funding very early on, right, which is what we call as the venture funding. Hence, things like investments through friends and family rounds or through angel rounds become very important in their early stage. And I think some of those ecosystems are very well developed in the US. On the other hand, we are seeing a lot of encouragement from government in India. So there are multiple schemes that governments are coming up with in India, be it this central government or the respective state governments. They are trying to do a lot of activities to encourage startups, to come up and find some solutions. The other thing, and that those kind of schemes helps startup access grants, from governments. They have to participate in some kind of competitions or pitching, and their startup gets selected, then they get grants from government, and those grants really help, in giving them some kind of what do I say, initial investment without having to dilute the equity. So I think that's a good aspect. The other thing is there is a lot of concentration around different verticals of startups. So we are seeing bio tech startups, we are seeing a lot of focus around agri tech startups, and there is a lot of focus around electronics and hardware startups. So we are slowly seeing that people or startup entrepreneurs kind of concentrating around certain verticals, and there are certain geographies which kind of facilitate that. So I think that is another thing we are clearly seeing. Also, I think the US startup ecosystem is heavily concentrated towards the valley. While in India, we see that Bangalore, where I live, is also one of the most active ecosystems. But I think now, this whole startup ecosystem has spread out in multiple cities. I'm seeing, in fact, few days back, I was interacting with few startups in a city called as Nasik, which is a tier two city in the state of Maharashtra, and I got to meet a lot of entrepreneurs. I spoke to almost 8 to 10 founders there, and they were coming up with some great ideas. So I'm seeing that this whole startup ecosystem is much more spread out now in India. So that's something which is very encouraging.
And what are your top goals for this year? What do you want to achieve?
I think I am looking at my 5 year plan is to create a big impact. So over the next 5 to 7 years, I want to at least work with close to 1,000 startups and create a big impact. Help them raise funds, and through these 1,000 startups, maybe help generate 10, 20,000 employment and unlock $1 billion of value. So I think that's my a big goal that I'm working towards. And let us see. I'll break it down into yearly and then quarterly.
Right. And what's your, you said 2000, right? That's quite a lot. So
Thousand.
how will you actually do that? Like what's your main strategy? What's your main growth hack to get to that goal?
Building teams, I think over a period of time I'll slowly build team, and look at creating some focus, which will help in solving certain problems. Because right now I'm keeping it lean, but over a period of time the idea is to build teams and work with variety of different startups, and also collaborate much more, because individually or one organization can't do much. But if you have an approach of collaboration across multiple accelerators or incubators, your reach automatically kind of goes up substantially. That's These are some thought processes in my mind.
Interesting. And Vikas, where can people find out more about you?
I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you want, I can leave my LinkedIn URL here, and I'm also having website for SunJosho Ventures, so people can reach me on SunJosho Ventures as well. And I have my email ID, which is vikas@sunjosho.com. So I'm pretty active there as well.
It was Vikas Sunkad and Charles Cormier for another